thank you for the invitation, and I'm happy to share about some of my experience, and hope it will help. I actually started out my career in the tourism industry. I went on for a traditional management trainee program, which I have the opportunity to rotate into different functional departments. And my last role was actually in the general manager office. At that point of my work, because that is my first job, I got a lot of good exposure about strategic thinking, managing P&L, and it helps me throughout my career. Then I move on to do marketing work still in the tourism sector, and then I move on to the education sector. The reason behind is at that point of time I was traveling about 80 to 90% of my time. And as an English major graduate, I don't know a lot about business, and I feel that having further continuing education would be very crucial for my personal and also career development. So I talked to my boss at that point of time that I have to quit because I want to spend a bit more time back in Hong Kong so that I can continue my business education. And I moved to the education sector, but still with a P&L role, doing education consulting. And then after 10 years in the education sector, I moved back to corporate. I joined a pharmaceutical company, and then an FMCG, and then hospitality. And now I end up with CBRE to real estate. So I've been going through quite a lot of different industry. So I think there is a higher demand of learning agility of leaders, and also for all the employees. So the ability to be flexible, to be able to change, to do quick experimentation, to be able to take calculated risks, to be able to collaborate a lot, sharing and gathering information, get feedback, and also have a reflection. So those are the kind of elements that we see that is getting to be much more important in the pandemic, and also in the VUCA world that we are in. The second thing that I see become very important is about interdisciplinarity. So remember when we were in school, we were actually studying single subject, and this is not the way that the world is operating, right? Whenever we see things, whenever we make decisions, actually you think about different aspects and different disciplines. So having that kind of connection, understanding how things are affecting different areas is actually one of the key things that executives have to know, and you have to be very savvy on, because the situation changed so fast. You have to understand what kind of decision that you make is going to happen or is going to affect different areas. So this is very important. The third thing I think is a usual stuff. Is about critical thinking. So for critical thinking, what I mean is how are you able to skillfully process, analyze, and also scrutinize information? Because now we are actually in a time which we have information overload, and there are a lot of fake information. Even nowadays, when you talk to me, you will probably be asking, is it really Betty, or is just an avatar that I'm talking to, right? So I think the ability to screen, to understand, to analyze, and to make a judgment of the information, this kind of critical thinking is very, very important. And the last thing that I think is very important is about empathy. For empathy, I think is a very useful concept for us to be as a leader, that you feel what the other people feel. And from the business perspective, if you are designing a new service, if you are designing a new process or system, using design thinking, you have to feel the pain of what other people feel, so that you can actually design a process which is hassle-free and also pain-free. So these are some of the things that I think is very important nowadays. I think what comes into my mind is actually about learning agility. The ability to be very flexible, the ability to connect the dots, the ability to collaborate with people, to ask people for feedback, to get people information, to learn from other people's experience, and synergize and adapt and pick the best that can apply to your own situation. So I think those are the things that are very important, not to even mention about connecting the dots. Imagine that something that happened in an African cocoa farm, that would be a big disruption for all the chocolate eater, for the cake and pastry industry, and for I think medicine also, right? There are some alternative medicine are making from cocoa. So I think the ability to be able to connect the dot is really, really important. The three things that I can share is about, the first thing is about curiosity. How you can actually to be more curious about the things that you're working on, or even for people that you're working with. I think having the curiosity like a child is the most important thing, so that you can actually energize and also make yourself feel happy every day when you're working. The second thing that is important is to consult other people when you are facing some challenge. Always listen to other people's experience, because a lot of things that are happening in your industry, it might have been happening in other industry. And how can you learn from other industry and see the good things they have, the kind of failure that they have, and apply to your own industry and see how you can adapt and create your own solution. And the third thing is trying to solve mystery, but not only problem, because mysteries are murkier and also less neat. They pose questions that can't be answered definitely, because the answer are always depending on a highly complex and interrelated sets of factors, both known and unknown. So trying to dig into very sticky issue, trying to untangle the relationship below the water, and then you can actually see that actually a lot of things are interrelated. And it's also getting back to the interdiscipline thinking that we will talk about in the earlier of our conversation.